both tubes in the same wallpaper sample.
That's brilliant.
Just to make them a little bit more aesthetically pleasing.
Indeed they are. So, in these wonderful tubes, you've got some fantastic equipment. So, would you like to start with your one? And I'll move this one to one side.
Yeah, I would love to, right. So this tube is primarily used to store my various different paint brushes, and I will give you a quick run through of the brushes. That I store in here. These brushes that you see here are two of my most recent purchases.
Brilliant.
They are made by a very well known and excellent company called Winsor & Newton, and they are from the Asanta Black range, and these specific brushes are geared towards a thicker oil paint and primarily acrylic paint, which these hairs are modelled on hog hair, which is very coarse and would allow you to manipulate the thicker paint that you might use on your canvas and allow you to handle the paint more easily.
That's fantastic. Can you brush my hand with it so I could have a feel of the
Certainly. We'll start with the smaller of the two, and you might notice that it has quite a rounded tip, which is geared towards giving different effects with the paint. I'm just going to run it along your hand now.
Thank you.
Probably better with mine. You might notice
Oh, that is soft.
that is quite,
Yeah.
it's quite a coarse hair.
It is coarse, but it's still very, it's very soft at the same time, right?
Yes,
It has got a firmness to it, but regardless, it's ticklish.
I often feel that I do really like the feel of paintbrushes
Fantastic.
on my body. I could quite happily be painted, I think.
Maybe we have to look into that.
It's not something I've pursued at this stage in my career.
Wow.
I'm going to do the same with the next one.
Okay.
It's the same range, it's the same type of hair. It's a lot chunkier,
Yeah, definitely.
but you can probably notice that it's got a square head as opposed to the rounded tip that I've just shown you.
Yeah.
The handle itself
It's much wider, isn't it?
is a lot wider to accommodate more hair on the brush.
Fantastic.
This particular one is a size 12,
Okay.
and I'd be interested to see how you feel when this one is used.
Oh gosh.
Is that softer?
It's, I don't know, I feel the sensation a lot more because it's got that wideness to it, if you know what I mean. So it's covering like a wider area.
You certainly have more contact on your skin
Of course, yeah.
with a straight cut across.
I'm getting goosebumps. So.
I think you might need to do that to me as well, because I do appreciate a good goosebump moment as well.
Let me see what I can do for you, my love. Okay, but I might go in with two of our dear friends, and
If you lose me, I may return.
oh, I might be going a bit too fast. It's not that it's a common thing to be doing here, but
larger canvas, and it would be for the purposes of adding in my secondary detail, where I would possibly have used something like this for my background.
That's right.
And I would be wanting to start adding in some finer details. I would go for something like this.
Excellent. Thank you.
And
So we have the three of your, I don't know, let's say well-known, what are they, brands?
my Winsor and Newton.
Newton brands, yeah. Sorry, I'm not too familiar with all the brands, but that is a brand, isn't it?
It certainly is.
But yeah, I've heard of them, but I'm not as familiar as you.
I've actually been lucky enough to go to the Winsor and Newton factory in London many years ago now, and I was given a tour of the factory and allowed to view the different departments and where things were made, and it was quite exciting for me. I didn't really want to leave at the end of the day.
Yeah, I would have bought a sample of everything.
They very nearly had a new employee.
I could imagine you there.
Okay. Right.
Come out, wherever you are.
I'm going to show you this one quickly because this is a very old brush.
Wow.
It's made by the same company. As you can see, it has been well loved, and it certainly has served its purpose again. It is a hog hair flat end, and I've created many a piece using this brush here. And despite its obvious cosmetic distress, it's still a very sturdy
Fantastic.
handle.
And how long have you had this for?
I would say that this brush has been with me for about 10 years.
10 years, but it's still so soft.
And it still has retained its
Fantastic.
flexibility and its stiffness at the same time.
Oh, it's a very, very different sensation on your palm.
It certainly
is, isn't it?
It certainly is, yes.
Oh, thank you. Okay, that's just like probably giving me goosebumps.
I'm going to move on to some of my shorter brushes now. Now these ones are probably probably the softest brushes that you're ever likely to feel or use. Now,
I found another one. And this one.
ah yes,
And is there more?
you may find a very fine one with a cap on it. That's right, lovely.
Excellent.
Now you probably notice that they are all the same colour.
That would be lovely.
Again, they are the same company, Winsor and Newton.
Yeah.
They look remarkably very well kept,
Yeah.
and there is a reason for that. These brushes are called Cotman,
Okay.
and they are geared towards watercolours.
I even say like cat hair or anything, because even that's not as soft. It's almost feathery.
It's almost feathery,
isn't it?
You could quite easily stroke this up and down a newborn baby's skin, and it would cause absolutely no irritation whatsoever.
But definitely goosebumps.
I sometimes have been known to use them with a very watered down acrylic.
Fantastic.
Yet I'm reluctant to do so all the time, as I tend to work with a heavier acrylic, mostly in my own style.
So what would happen if you use this with a heavier acrylic? What would happen? Because it's such a subtle brush.
It wouldn't move the acrylic around effectively, and it would compromise the structure of the bristles, and they would be inclined to be misshapen. It's also worth pointing out that when painting, I obviously
I need to practice with that wonderful acrylics. So we have tube number 2.
The second tube is home to my rather well-used palette knives.
Fantastic.
And again, the palette knife, I'm sure you have looked at them being used previously as the aforementioned Bob Ross.
Oh God, of course, yeah. But his knife is quite different, and I've got one ordered. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I got it from Amazon, so it's on its way.
I can't wait to see.
I know, but I did see these, but I'm not sure what the difference is compared to Bob Ross.
Right, well, again, the palette knife is used primarily for thicker paint, like acrylic and the thick oil.
Okay.
You won't get away with using these with your palette watercolours,
Right. Okay.
or even watercolours that you could obtain from a tube are still rather delicate, and the pigment concentration would be a bit lost with the palette knife.
Fantastic.
So I tend to work with acrylics, and I'm quite happy to. I have quite a fast style of working.
What I meant by fantastic, it's fantastic that you know such a detailed idea about paints, the texture of the paints. I wouldn't even thought about that at all. So, I mean, of course I'm going to use acrylic, but I didn't know that size for more stronger paints, yeah.
Absolutely, and usually on a canvas base or a very hard base. If you're going to be using and manipulating the paint with a palette knife,
It's quite
you'll see that it's very flexible,
isn't it? Yeah.
It's not at all stiff. It is as you get towards the base,
Okay. Yeah.
but as you work your way up to the end, it's got a bit of give in it to
Yeah.
allow for your contact
Yeah.
onto your canvas or board.
Wow.
And you notice
One of them. Yeah.
this again is the same tool but a different shape, and it's got more of a pointy part here, which would allow you to apply or move your paint in a more focused and direct way as to something like with a rounded edge. So again, the different shapes would determine how your paint is applied to your surface.
Can I just
Of course, please do.
Because I don't know what planet I've been on, but I haven't seen these. But that I could almost imagine being like Bob Ross's
Absolutely.
his knife that he does the mountains with. But I bet you can achieve the same thing as that. These are fantastic.
The effects that you can create with these are really fabulous.
Amazing.
And it's not something to feel like you've missed out, because you don't often come across these unless you are in a art centre or a shop that is geared towards fine art equipment. And if your life has been sort of taken up with other things and you haven't had a chance to peruse an art shop, it can appear to be quite daunting. And
it is. Yeah.
I find myself, I have been painting over 20 years, and even I will go into an art shop and I may not necessarily know the function of every item on the shelf.
Well, you definitely know the function of many items compared to me.
Certainly the ones I use.
But I'll be interested to see your response to the Bob Ross knife, definitely, for sure. But these knives are just like, they're so fine. Okay, I have to tell you, probably is good to scrape off old wallpaper or something.